Preface. The textbook for AEC Humanities has been crafted specially for the first semester graduate learners in the humanities stream under University of Calicut and is designed in such a way to meet the unique English language learning skills of the learners. The textbook has been structured into 4 modules, focusing on the 4 basic skills in language, learning and acquisition, namely listening, speaking, reading, and writing, LSRW. And the 5th module focuses on the practicum aspect of the course. Module 1 focuses on the primary aspect of language learning, listening. Module 2 focuses on enhancing the speaking skills of the learner. Module 3 and 4 adheres to the aspect of reading and writing respectively. Each module starts with a brief yet detailed introduction to the aspect of skill and followed by selected text that includes stories, poems, and speeches. Each module ends with the specific activities designed to improve the proficiency of the learner in that particular skill. This audio text is arranged module-wise, beginning with Module 1.
I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King Jr. Introduction. Martin Luther King Jr. was a prominent American civil rights leader known for his role in advancing civil rights through nonviolent activism and his leadership in movement to end racial segregation and discrimination in the United States. He was born on 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia. He attended Morehouse College, Crosser Theological Seminary, and Boston University, where he earned his PhD in systematic theology. King was strongly influenced by Mahatma Gandhi's principles of nonviolence and civil disobedience. He advocated for peaceful protests and believed that nonviolence could bring about social change and justice. He was assassinated on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee, where he was supporting striking sanitation workers. Martin Luther King will be always remembered as a symbol of the struggle for racial equality and a champion of non-violent protest. King's efforts significantly contributed to the progress made in civil rights in the United States, and his legacy continues to inspire movements for justice and equality worldwide. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech on August 28, 1963, during the March to Washington for Jobs and Freedom. This historic event took place at Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. The speech is renowned for its eloquent expression of the desire for racial equality and justice in the United States. King's vision of a society where people are judged by the content of their character rather than the color of their skin has become a cornerstone of American civil rights movement. The powerful speech encapsulated the aspirations of millions of African Americans who sought an end to racial discrimination. The speech remains a pivotal moment in American history, symbolizing the ongoing struggle for civil rights and equality. Transcript. I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. This nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. My country, this of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become a new and also let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from stone mountains of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Anthem by Leonard Cohen. Introduction. Leonard Cohen was a Canadian singer, songwriter, poet, and novelist born on September 21, 1934, in Westmount, Quebec, Canada. He published his first poetry book, Let Us Compare Mythologies, in 1956 while still a learner at McGill University. He gained recognition as a poet and novelist before pursuing a music career. Cohen created some notable works including the novels The Favorite Game, 1963, and Beautiful Losers, 1966. His musical career began in the 1960s, releasing his debut album, Songs of Leonard Cohen, in 1967. He was known for his distinctive, gravelly voice and introspective lyrics. His lyrics often explored complex themes such as spirituality, love, loss, and the human condition. Cohen loved experimenting with folk, rock, and pop music with poetic lyricism. Leonard Cohen, as a musician and an entertainer, has been dazzling audiences for years. His famous songs include Anthem, Future, and Death of a Ladies' Man. Anthem is among the first songs in the album The Future, released in 1992. This song is one of his most soothing, beautiful, and hopeful pieces, offering a sense of optimism and inspiration during an unburdened global period. Cohen believed that life is imperfect. There is a crack in everything, and when there is a ray of hope, it leads to reconciliations, repentance, and resurrection. The song blends both sacred and profane. Embedded with depths of meaning, the song highlights the need to stay connected. The song Anthem was inspired by Kabbalistic mysticism, and the song preaches the acceptance of imperfection. Lyrics: The birds they sang at the break of the day start again. I heard them say, don't dwell on what has passed away or what is yet to be. Yeah, the wars they will be fought again. The howly dove, she will be caught again, bought and sold and bought again. The dove is never free. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. We asked for signs, the signs were sent. The birth betrayed, the marriage spent. Yeah, the widowhood of every garment, signs for all to see. I can't run no more with that lawless crowd, with the killers in high places, say their prayers out loud. But they have summoned up a thundercloud, and they are going to hear from me. Ring the bells that still ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. You can add up the parts. You won't have the sum. You can strike up the march. There is no drum. Every heart to love will come, but like a refugee. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. Ring the bells that still can ring. Forget your perfect offering. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in. That's how the light gets in.
Lesson 3: Art as a Social Work by Amy Morales Lara. Introduction. Amy Morales Lara is a daughter of immigrant parents and a native of Bronx in New York. She is pursuing a Master of Social Work degree from the Syl Berman School of Social Work. Amy is also a Cabrini Hunter Clinical Fellow, published playwright, and emerging singer-songwriter. Amy is passionate about combining her interests in creative arts and mental health, believing their synergy can bring healing and liberation to others. Amy Morales Lara discusses her project, Art as Social Work, and how she was deeply moved and touched by the struggles and strengths of the people of the Bronx, how it influenced their art, and how it aided in processing trauma. She believes that art is accessible to everyone and emphasizes on qualities like empathy and curiosity. She believes that if one is passionate about what they are doing, they will surely find ways to contribute to the betterment of the society. Life, she believes, is an opportunity to serve those around us, the community, the society, and the world in general. Transcript. Lost. Part of the reason I feel lost is because I feel I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a current grad learner pursuing a degree in social work. And the questions that I've been asking myself are quite as essential. Maybe some of you have asked yourselves some of the same things. The questions that I've been asking are this: who do I want to become? And what do I want to do with my life? The way I've dealt with these questions is by looking to people who inspire me on the path that I'm on. If there's anything I want to do with my life, it is to be the helper that Mr. Roger, beloved childhood icon, talks about an interview where he says, I would see scary things on the news and my mother would say to look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping. For those who don't know, Mr. Rogers is a legend. He was a kind and friendly man in a vibrant red sweater that told me that my feelings mattered. My mother would play his program at home, and I always looked forward to watching it. What I thought was so special about Mr. Rogers was doing is how he did it because he used so many creative things. He used puppets for TV broadcasting and even music. He used it to tell positive messages to children about their emotions, how they were feeling, and about the world around them. As I got into my adulthood, I realized that I wanted to do something very similar. I wanted to be a helper, and I wanted to use the creative arts to do it. Now, I want to clarify what I think a helper is. A helper isn't somebody who rescues someone from their problems or presents themselves as a solution, who is willing to partner with someone in their own product, development, and growth. I want to be that kind of helper, and I again want to use the creative arts to do it. But the question that I have been asking myself as a social worker learner is this: how do I combine my love for helping others in social work with the creative arts? Now, I want to start off by defining what social work and art are. Social work can be defined in many ways, but the way that I would simply put this is social work is a practice based discipline that promotes social change. It also empowers and collaborates with individuals and communities in order to bring about equitable outcomes, provide support, and also access to care. My definition of art is another thing that can be defined in many ways, but the way I would define it is this: art is a creative expression that can help people you tell a story, so it can be poetry, dancing, or even knitting. If it's something that is a creative form of expression and something that can help you tell a story, I consider it to be art. My medium of choice has always been music. Music has been such an important part of my life, and it's something I hold near and dear to my heart for most of my youth and adolescence. I was a part of a professional children's choir. Now I'm a singer songwriter. Music was something I felt helped me challenge a lot of negative narratives I had about myself, and it helped me reclaim who I was. Singing songs and sharing songs that I've written with people who are willing to listen showed me that I was not the sum of my anxious thoughts and that I was capable of something bigger than myself. Whenever I could write a song and people resonated with it, I felt like I was establishing a connection. It would be something that I would continue to carry with me into the future. I graduated college with a degree in music industry and social work, which is not a surprise because music is something that again is really important to me. With my degree, I took a lot of jobs that was associated with music. I had some jobs working for music collectives and I even performed and did a lot of art programming for a bunch of community centers in Bronx. The way I saw people connect and engage with music and the arts was a beautiful experience because again it showed me the value of why it's so important to be creative. After program hours, I saw learners lingering to write songs together and record on the audio setup that we had, but then I had started to think about my future again. I started to ask myself, what do I want to be 10 years from now? How can I secure a future and make sure that I can expand my professional experience? I wanted to keep my options open, so I wanted to explore what was out there. I eventually took a job as a research coordinator at a clinic where I interviewed families for all of research projects we had going on at that time. My favorite part about that job was learning about families and hearing their stories. It was a beautiful thing to be part of their process for that short moment, and I loved hearing about their everyday life and who they were. I realized I was a people centered person and I wanted to pursue a career that emphasized that. So I took my people centered brain to a place that made so much sense and I ended up in social work school. Enrolling in my program was a surreal experience for me. I was sitting in front of my computer in the middle of the pandemic and I was so nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know if I was in the right place. I was just doing what I felt like I needed to do to connect the puzzle pieces of my life. Remember thinking about creative arts and also helping others. My professor came on and began to ask us what we hope to accomplish in our career. I was just honest. I told her I want to try to find a way to combine the creative arts and social work. I'm not even sure if that's possible, but I wanted to see if I can try, so I'm here to learn. With a knowing smile, my professor looked at me and said in many ways, many social workers are also frustrated. Artists, that phrase rocked my world because it made me feel like maybe I was in the right place. Maybe this is where I needed to be and what I needed to explore. I'm a frustrated artist. I was frustrated by the idea that I had to deep patronize art in order to secure my future, and it wasn't something that felt right to me. And although I was pursuing something else, I always felt the ringing of the creative arts in my ear, and I always felt music resonating in my soul. And I knew that whatever I went, I was going to bring it with me. What my professor said really changed my perspective because it reminded me of perhaps this intersection isn't impossible. I just needed to be courageous enough to take that chance. In social work practice, we are constantly challenged to question narratives and engage with the world around us with empathetic curiosity. I'm learning so much about social work and how it works and what we need to know in order to provide care for others. I learned organizing clinical work with individuals and families, community, and advocacy, just to name a few things, and then I began to see the puzzle pieces kind of set together. Oh, I thought, art exists in a lot of these spaces as well. For example, in clinical spaces, art therapy is seen as a valuable intervention for people that might be struggling with anxiety or depression. For community organizing, community moral projects have been a way for community organizations to have people invest in their communities and develop relationships with their neighbors. And lastly, art is also very present in advocacy. Have you seen how creative people get their point across in a way that I believe is quite artistic? If you ask me, it was encouraging to see this connection in this intersection because, again, it reminded me that perhaps my path isn't necessarily all that wrong or impossible. I began to see and learn more about social work and what it means, and seeing how art can play a role in that really inspired me. During my social work program, I did a year long project where we were supposed to use community resources, curiosity, and of course, empathy to learn about communities that we hope to work with. I did my project on a place that I call home and is close to my heart, the Bronx. I wanted to explore the narratives of the Bronx and how art can help us not only understand the context but also see how we can see little things differently. I called my magazine Renaissance Rhythm and Resistance, how the arts can help heal narratives of the Bronx. For those of you who don't know, the Bronx doesn't always get a good rap. It's one of the poorest countries in New York, and a lot of people say that it doesn't have a good reputation of being a safe and happy place to live. But we often forget that Bronx had a meaningful art renaissance that brought about things that changed the world. We know it things like hip hop, salsa, break dancing, graffiti, and we know that's just a few things that have been groundbreaking developments that have been cultivated in our very city. I often found that the Bronx was characterized by its struggle, but it wasn't emphasized for its strengths. Why are we not centering the shrinks that we see in our home and in our communities, and why is that not the case for the Bronx? I use this project as an opportunity to see how we can use art to challenge narratives that we hear and explore them a bit further. I thought interviewing Bronx artists was a great place to start. Interviewing process was amazing. I loved learning about their stories and hearing who they were. I got to interview a digital artist in furniture rehabilitator who told me about how their art challenges notions of classes. Furniture affordability, as she found that Bronx members and the Bronx families that she worked with couldn't afford nice furniture. I also interviewed a hip hop artist who used hip hop and rap to explore his identity as a black man and also coming from an immigrant family. I also interviewed a fantastic visual artist who also used his illustrations and gallery work to explore injustice, racism, and other meaningful topics to the general populace. It was a wonderful thing to see how growing up in Bronx, living in this context, and also listening to how they were traveling through their journey because it taught me again how wonderful it was to hear how the strengths and their struggles were things that brought them forward. It was amazing to hear how the barriers and the systemic struggles they were dealing with helped them make beautiful art. It also helped them process trauma and not only helped them change their perspective of the world and who they were, but also influenced them to create things that they can pass on to the future generations. Being a part of this project and doing this initially make my soul sing because I got to see the intersections of my two loves meet. It was wonderful to walk with people in their stories and shortly be a part of it. During its retelling, to hear the narratives being challenged and knowing that there is more to the story than what we hear. It was also so profound because it brought me back to my childhood and why I loved being a part of the Bronx and growing up here. It reminded me of the sound of boom boxes of the summer black boys that were the rhythm and pulse of my city. It reminded me the several art galleries we had on alleyways and the side of business that told stories of our culture, a communal context, and our vivid imagination. It reminded me that the Bronx is not only breathing with healing and transformation. This was my social work brain was excited to see all of these things come out, and I was so overwhelmed by the opportunity to see part of my dream for a short moment become reality. I was able to emphasize and understand some of the systemic barriers these people experienced, but I was able to walk with them in their stories and allow them to be the center and the experts of their own experience, and it's something I think that will carry with me for the rest of my career, even if it's just started. I've learned so much about what social work is and who I'm becoming, and I believe I'm not where I started out, but I know that I have a lot to learn and I'm still trying to figure out who I want to be in this world. But I know that empathy, compassion, and curiosity have brought me here where I am today. I'm still lost, but do I believe that I'm also finding my way and leaning into that discomfort of not knowing what's coming next? Now I want to point it back to you. Are you any of you lost? Are any of you trying to figure out what you want to be and who you want to become? Maybe struggling with your next professional step in life. Maybe you're struggling with a relationship transition that isn't going well. Whatever it happens, perhaps it's time to pursue your next step creatively. Can taking on an artist endeavor help you figure out how you feel? Be curious about yourself and what's going on inside of you and how you relate to community contexts around you. Can participating in a communal context help you combat things like loneliness and help you understand who your neighbors are and who they claim to be? I believe that art is accessible to everyone, and you don't necessarily need to even be good at something to be curious about what it can do for you. I think it can be really intimidating to enter an art space, but just know that the goal isn't perfection. It's courageousness. its bravery, and its openness. To be curious about what can come about, and to also understand that you can become a new person just by trying new things. And for those who are in more traditional or corporate spaces, just know that art is good for you too. There was a study done with staffing nurses where they were put in a series of art activities for a period of time. After the weeks were over, it was observed that many of the nursing staff experienced improved levels of general well being and mental health, reduced levels of stress and fatigue, and they even said that it increased the sense of community at their job. 75% of those participants even said that they might consider participating in art activities for the future. New things can be scary, but that doesn't mean that they are impossible. So, for those out there who want to tap into something creatively to see where it leads, I invite you to be open to the process of the unknown and allowing yourself to be unraveled by the things you discover about yourself and your community. Maybe it can even give you a new sense of purpose and show you who you can be, who you can become, and how to be with people better. The last question I want to end with this: how can you walk with people in their stories? How can you tap into empathetic curiosity that I mentioned before? Even if this isn't something that you are ready to pursue. Yet, just know that don't even need to be an artist or a social worker to lean into things like compassion, empathy, and curiosity. Those are accessible to everyone, and by leaning into these principles and concepts, we all can be helpers. Thank you.
Module 2, Speaking Skills. Introduction. The ability to speak easily and effectively is a prime aspect of communication. Effective speaking is crucial not only for academic success but also for professional success. It helps us to express our ideas clearly and effectively in interviews and in professional spaces. It boosts our confidence level and in turn increases our chances of acing interviews, getting promoted, having a salary hike, or just winning a debate. Good speaking skills are also crucial in our personal interactions. Through this module, we shall learn how to organize your thoughts clearly, engage your audience, and deliver your messages confidently. In today's world of aggressive competition, developing good speaking skills is crucial. Constant practice and developing a rich and simple vocabulary are the key to being a good speaker. Efficient speakers who are able to captivate the audience and keep their attention for a long span of time can be seen ruling the world in contemporary times. Oprah Winfrey, Robin Sharma, and Tony Robbins are among the most popular speakers of the world who relied on their wit and the ability of speaking fluently through lucid words to inspire people across the world. The technological advancement witnessed by the world today has opened up a plethora of new and exciting career choices and opportunities. People armed with good speaking skills stand a great chance of achieving coveted positions irrespective of their academic socio-economic backgrounds. The major areas to be focused upon in order to develop efficiency in speaking can be broadly stated as pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, fluency, appropriateness, organized thoughts, and engaging audience.
Josh Carlin on Soft Language. Introduction. Josh Dennis Patrick Carlin was an American stand up comedian, actor, author, and social critic. He is considered to be one of the most influential stand up comedians of the world. Carlin was distinguished for his incisive social commentary and razor sharp satire. Through his stand up comedy, he fearlessly tackled controversial subjects such as politics, religion, and societal norms, often using humor to reveal the absurdities and hypocrisies in everyday life. Carlin's wit and bold observations challenged audience to think critically about the world around them, making him a seminal figure in both comedy and social critique. He began his professional career in the radio, where he and his close friend and fellow comedian and newsman Jack Burns worked together as DJs in various radio stations. Both of them quit radio in 1960, planning to perform at nightclubs with the comedy routines that they had developed over the years. The duo named Burns and Carlin attained popularity and exposure within a short span of time. Even though they were performing in mainstream clubs, their comedy content had an anti establishment flavor that tended to satirize the power structure and socio political conditions. In 1962, the duo split in search of individual success, and Carlin found himself lacking exposure and opportunity. His trademark style of satire, dark comedy, and candid mocking of the establishment, clubbed with his outspoken mannerism, was met with disapproval from the mainstream clubs. He experimented by seeking out coffee houses and folk clubs which attracted audience who thought out of the box and was open to unconventional and candid ideas. He strived to balance mainstream material with his innate outspokenness and blatant criticism of the power structure, and his increasing popularity slowly propelled him onto the television industry. Karan's success in television industry was incredible, and he was featured profusely as a program host and stand-up comedian. However, his unique style and bold statements naturally gathered criticism, and at one point he was even imprisoned for his rebellious and irreverent tone and words. His arrest and release served only to heighten his popularity, and Carlin continued with his signature style. However, at some point he refrained from restoring to candid and rebellious performance, only to restart as he found his kind of audience increasing in numbers with a change in the world and worldviews. Introduction to stand up comedy. Stand up comedy is a dynamic and influential form of entertainment where a comedian performs in front of live audience, delivering a series of humorous anecdotes, observations, and critiques. Unlike scripted performance or theatrical plays, stand up depends on spontaneity and the comedian's unique perspective. This art form provides a mirror to society, offering insights to cultural norms, societal issues, and individual experience through humor. By blending personal stories with social commentary, stand up comedians not only entertain but also provoke thought and reflection on a range of topics. Stand up comedy is meant to make the audience laugh and think at the same time. Stand up comedy features topics from contemporary life, society, and socio political situations and presents them in a comic, satirical light. There are chances that some people or sections might feel insulted by monologues, but as a stand up comedy is a genre that known to satirize and tease and meant to inspire thoughts from different perspectives, such things are usually overlooked. Josh Carlin is one of the most popular stand up comedians who still keeps his influence. Text. In the passage prescribed for study, Josh Carlin is speaking to a packed audience about soft language and describes how American language had changed over time, making it bland and less humane. He speaks about his hatred for euphemisms or soft language and says that there are words that conceal reality. He says that American English is heavy with euphemisms. He adds that Americans might have trouble facing the truth that they must be why they depend greatly upon soft language. They have invented soft language to protect themselves from the harsh realities. He continues to say that American tendency to depend upon soft language instead of speaking out reality is becoming worse with every generation. To establish his argument, he gives the example of term shell shock, which evolved over time to become a sterile and emotionless term post-traumatic stress disorder. The term shell shock came in use for the first time during the First World War to refer to a condition when a fighter's nervous system is so stressed out that he cannot take any more input. In this condition, the person might not be able to think clearly and might feel that his sanity might snap at any moment. Carlin says that naming this condition shell shock is simple, honest, direct language, where no euphemisms or glossing over facts is involved. Later on, after a generation, when the Second World War came by, the very same condition came to be called battle fatigue, a term which Carlin describes as a nicer word than shock, and that doesn't seem to hurt as much. Then, in Korean War during 1950s, the same condition came to be known as operational exhaustion. Here, Carlin says that humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase and that it is sterile. Ultimately, during the Vietnam War, the term was post traumatic stress disorder, which buried any humanity left in the form of words under jargon. Carlin asserts that this is how soft language takes life out of life. Carlin goes on giving very hilarious examples like how toilet paper is now bathroom tissue and sneakers are now running shoes. His other examples are false teeth, dental appliances, medicine, medication, information, directory assistance, dump, landfill, car crash, automobile accident, mortal, mortal lodge, house trailer, mobile home, used car, previously on transportation, room service, guest room dining, hospital, health maintenance organization, wellness center, doctor, healthcare delivery, honest, professional, old people, senior citizens, die, pass away. Another instance is when people are fired from job, it is called as the management's strategy to reduce expenses in HR department. Similarly, if the CIA kills somebody or group of people, it is conventionally called neutralization and depopulating an area, respectively. Carlin concludes by saying that these euphemistic terms are examples of how smudged, greedy, well fed white people have created a language that is devoid of actual essence. He rebels at the inability to get old as people have begun to say 90 years young instead of 90 years old. He wonders what is so wrong with aging as it is something that is natural and universal. Even though it is true that no one wants to get old or to die, people actually get old and die. Using the antonym of the word old does not make us any younger. In any case, he adds humorously that thanks to the fear of death among the people, we no longer die but we pass away. Thus, he exposes the fallacy of soft language. Analysis of the passage. George Carlin, with his incredible public speaking skills, expresses the human tendency, especially that of privilege, to gloss over the unpleasant truths of real life with neutral and sophisticated terms. The speaker, through referring to the American use of language to make harsh realities seem normal, digs at the whole of American society as something that is fake and lacks genuineness. The use of indirect and digressive language for something that can be put forth in simple and direct manner makes the language lose its humaneness, thus becoming neutral and lifeless. The clipping can be identified as a prime example of direct and unadulterated social criticism. In the video clipping, it can be seen that Carlin makes use of his talent as a good speaker in presenting to his audience a fresh perspective on what is usually considered normal. The use of humor and simple examples from everyday life helps in keeping the interest of the audience. The body language and facial expressions of speaker can also be identified as graceful and attracting attention. Thus, the video clipping can be considered a perfect representation of effective speaking skills.
The Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. Introduction to Arthur Miller. Arthur Asher Miller was born in New York City into a family running textile manufacturing business. The Great Depression led the family business to ruin and they moved to Brooklyn to lead a humbler living. After high school, Miller worked various jobs ranging from radio singer to truck driver to clerk. He began writing plays as a learner at the university, and his first Broadway play, The Man Who Had All the Luck, was opened in 1944. His second play, All My Sons, received the Drama Critics Circle Award. His 1949 work, Death of a Salesman, received the Pulitzer Prize. He was awarded the Golden Medal for Drama in 1959 by the National Institute of Arts and Letters. His other important works are A View from the Bridge, The Misfits, After the Fall, The Incident at Wiki, The Price and Timberlands, his autobiography. Apart from the awards already mentioned, Miller has won 7 Tony Awards, yet another Drama Critics Circle Award, an Obie, an Oliver, the John F. Kennedy Lifetime Achievement Award, and the Dorothy and Lillian Gish Prize. He also held honorary doctorate degrees from the universities of Oxford and Harvard. Introduction to the play. Death of a Salesman is the one of the most celebrated and enacted of Arthur Miller's plays. The idea for the play actually conceptualized years back in a short story Miller wrote at the age of 17. The story tells the tale of an aging salesman who is unable to sell anything, is abused by his customers, and who always borrows money from the young narrator. The story remained unpublished, but the idea was alive in Miller's mind. The Great Depression, which impacted the life of Miller and his family, is the base of the story. The main character, Willie Loman, also finds resemblance in Manny Newman, Miller's salesman uncle, who, despite his financial and professional failures, was determined to survive, strengthened by his unrealistic optimism. The play presents the life of the Loman family, Willie, the salesman, Linda, his wife, and Biff and Happy, their 2 sons. The play addresses the theme of loss of identity and the human being's inability to accept change, both in himself and in the society. The play, portraying the last 24 hours of Willie Loman's life, is a collage of memories, hopes, arguments among the characters' dreams and hallucinations. Willie, a 60-year-old salesman, is tired and worn out and can no longer attract customers. The world around has changed considerably, and Willie still sticks on to his age-old sales techniques, which do not help him anymore. His optimism and faith in the system seems to be absurd and pathetic. Willie's illusions, failures, and family relationships form the crux of the story. The play ends with Willie's suicide and subsequent funeral. The part prescribed for study occurs in the first part of Act 1, where an exhausted Willie talks to his wife, Linda. The part projects Willie Loman's disoriented nature, his hope and hopelessness, and his relationship with his wife, Linda.
Text. The action takes place in Willie Loman's house and yard and in various places he visits in the New York and Boston of today. Act 1, Part 1. Conversation between Willie and Linda. A melody is heard, played upon a flute. It is small and fine, telling of grass and trees and the horizon. The curtain rises. Before us is a salesman's house. We are aware of towering, angular shapes behind it, surrounding it on all sides. Only the blue light of the sky falls upon the house and forestage. The surrounding area shows an angry glow of orange. As more light appears, we see a solid vault of apartment houses around the small, fragile seeming home. An air of the dream dings to the place, a dream rising out of reality. The kitchen at center seems actual enough, for there is a kitchen table with 3 chairs and a refrigerator. But no other fixtures are seen. At the back of the kitchen, there is a draped entrance which leads to the living room. To the right of the kitchen, on a level raised 2 feet, is a bedroom furnished only with a brass bedstead and a straight chair. On a shelf over the bed, a silver athletic trophy stands. A window opens onto the apartment house at the side. Behind the kitchen, on a level raised 6.5 feet, is the boys' bedroom, at present barely visible. 2 beds are dimly seen, and at the back of the room, a dormer window. At the left, a stairway curves up to it from the kitchen. The entire setting is wholly, or in some places, partially transparent. The roof line of the house is one-dimensional. Under and over it, we see the apartment buildings. Before the house lies an apron curving beyond the forestage into the orchestra. This forward area serves as a backyard as well as the locale of all Willie's imaginings and of his city scenes. Whenever the action is in the present, the actors observe the imaginary wall lines entering the house only through its door at the left. But in the scenes of the past, these boundaries are broken, and characters enter or leave a room by stepping through a wall onto the forestage. From the right, Willie Loman, the salesman, enters carrying 2 large sample cases. The flute plays on. He hears but is not aware of it. He is past 60 years of age, dressed quietly. Even as he crosses the stage to the doorway of the house, his exhaustion is apparent. He unlocks the door, comes into the kitchen, and thankfully lets his burden down, feeling the soreness of his palms. A word sigh escapes his lips. It might be, "Oh boy, oh boy." He closes the door, then carries his cases out into the living room through the draped kitchen doorway. Linda, his wife, has stirred in her bed at the right. She gets out and puts on a robe, listening. Most often jovial, she has developed an iron repression of her exceptions to Willie's behavior. She more than loves him, she admires him as though his mercurial nature, his temper, his massive dreams, and little cruelties served her only as sharp reminders of the turbulent longings within him, longings which she shares but lacks the temperament to utter and follow to their end. Now, let's listen to the conversation between Linda and Willie.
Willie?
It's all right. I came back.
Why? What happened? Did something happen, Willie?
No, nothing happened.
You didn't smash the car, did you?
I said nothing happened. Didn't you hear me?
Don't you feel well?
I am tired to death. I couldn't make it. I just couldn't make it, Linda.
Where were you all day? You look terrible.
I got as far as Little Apple Yonkers. I stopped for a cup of coffee. Maybe it was the coffee?
What?
I suddenly couldn't drive anymore. The car kept going off onto the shoulder. No?
Oh, maybe it was the steering again. I don't think Angelo knows the Studebaker.
No, it's me. It's me. Suddenly, I realize I am going 60 miles an hour and I don't remember the last 5 minutes. I can't seem to keep my mind to it.
Maybe it's your glasses. You never went for your new glasses.
No, I see everything. I came back 10 miles an hour. It took me nearly 4 hours from Yonkers.
Well, you will just have to take a rest, Willie. You can't continue this way.
I just got back from Florida.
But you didn't rest your mind. Your mind is overactive, and the mind is what counts, dear.
I will start out in the morning. Maybe I will feel better in the morning. These goddamn arch supports are killing me.
Take an aspirin. Should I get you an aspirin? It will soothe you.
I was driving along, you understand, and I was fine. I was even observing the scenery. You can imagine me looking at scenery on the road every week of my life. But it is so beautiful up there, Linda. The trees are so thick and the sun is warm. I opened the windshield and just let the warm air bathe over me. And then all of a sudden, I am going off the road. I am telling ya, I absolutely forgot I was driving. If I would have gone the other way over the white line, I might have killed somebody. So I went on again, and 5 minutes later, I am dreaming again, and I have such thoughts. I have such strange thoughts.
Willie, dear, talk to them again. There is no reason why you can't work in New York.
They don't need me in New York. I am the New England man. I am vital in New England.
But you're 60 years old. They can't expect you to keep traveling every week.
I will have to send a wire to Portland. I am supposed to see Brown and Morrison tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock to show the line. God damn it, I could sell them.
Why don't you go down to the place tomorrow and tell Howard you have simply got to work in New York? You're too accommodating, dear.
If old man Wagner was alive, I would be in charge of New York now. That man was a prince. He was a masterful man, but the boy of his, that Howard, he didn't appreciate. When I went no the first time, the Wagner company didn't know where New England was.
Why don't you tell those things to Howard, dear?
I will. I definitely will. Is there any cheese?
I will make you sandwich.
No, go to sleep. I will take some milk. I will be up right away. The boys in?
They are sleeping. Happy took Biff on a date tonight.
That's so.
It was so nice to see them shaving together, one behind the other in the bathroom, and going out together. You notice? The whole house smells of shaving lotion.
Figure it out. Work a lifetime to pay off a house, you finally own it, and there is nobody to live in it?
Well, dear, life is a casting off. It's always that way.
No, some people accomplish something. Did Biff say anything after I went this morning?
You shouldn't have criticized him, Willie, especially after he just got off the train. You must lose your temper with him.
When the hell did I lose my temper? I simply asked him if he was making any money. Is that a criticism?
But, dear, how could he make any money?
There is such an undercurrent in him. He became a moody man. Did he apologize when I left this morning?
He was crestfallen, Willie. You know how he admires you. I think if he finds himself, then you will both be happier and not fight anymore.
How can he find himself on a farm? Is that a life? A farmhand? In the beginning, when he was I thought, well, a young man, it is good for him to tramp around, take a lot of different jobs. But it is more than 10 years now, and he has yet to make $35 a week.
He is finding himself, Willie.
Not finding yourself at the age of 34 is a disgrace. Shh! The trouble is, he is lazy. God damn it.
Willie, please.
Biff is a lazy bum.
They are sleeping. Get something to eat. Go on down.
Why did he come home? I would like to know what brought him home.
I don't know. I think he's still lost, Willie. I think he's very lost.
Biff Luman is lost. In the greatest country in the world, a young man with such personal attractiveness get lost. And such a hard worker. There is one thing about Biff, he is not lazy.
Never.
I will see him in the morning. I will have a nice talk with him. I will get him a job selling. He could be big in no time. My God. Remember how they used to follow him around in high school? When he smiled at one of them, their faces lit up. When he walked down the street?
Willie, dear, I got a new kind of American type cheese today. It's whipped.
Why do you get American when I like Swiss?
I just thought you would like a change.
I don't want a change. I want Swiss cheese. Why I'm always been contradicted?
I thought it would be a surprise.
Why don't you open a window here for God's sake?
They are all open, dear.
The way they boxed us here, bricks and windows, windows and bricks.
We should have bought the land next door.
The street is lined with cars. There is not a breath of fresh air in the neighborhood. The grass don't grow anymore. You can raise a carrot in the backyard. They should have had a law against apartment houses. Remember those two beautiful elm trees out there? When I and Biff hung the swing between them?
Yeah, like being a million miles from the city.
They should have arrested the builder for cutting those down. They massacred the neighborhood. More and more, I think of those days. Linda, this time of year, it was lilac and wisteria, and then the peonies would come out, and the daffodils. What fragrance in this room?
Well, after all, people had to move somewhere.
No, there is more people now.
I don't think there is more people. I think...
There is more people. That's what ruining this country. Population is getting out of control. The competition is maddening. Smell the sting from that apartment house and another one on the other side. How can they whip cheese?
Go down, try it, and be quiet.
You are not worried about me, are you, sweetheart?
What's the matter?
Listen.
You have got too much on the ball to worry about.
You are my foundation and my support, Linda.
Just try to relax, dear. You make mountains out of molehills.
I won't fight with him anymore. If he wants to go back to Texas, let him go.
He will find his way.
Sure, certain men just don't get started till later in life. Like Thomas Edison, I think, or B.F. Goodrich. One of them was deaf. I will put my money on Biff.
And Willie, it's a warm Sunday. We will drive in the country and we will open the windshield and take lunch.
No, the windshields don't open on the new cars.
But you opened it today.
Me? I didn't. Now, isn't that peculiar? Isn't that remarkable?
What, darling?
That is the most remarkable thing.
What, dear?
I was thinking of the Chevy 1928 when I had that red Chevy. I couldn't sound I was driving that Chevy today.
Well, that's nothing. Something must have reminded you.
Remarkable. Just remember those days, the way Biff used to simonize that car. The dealer refused to believe there were 18,000 miles on it. Here, close your eyes. I'll be right up.
Jesus, maybe he smashed up the car again.
Be careful on the stairs, dear. The cheese is on the middle shelf.
Rip It Out by Peter Weir. About the director. Peter Lindsay Weir is an Australian film director. He was a leading figure in the Australian New Wave cinema movement.
during the early years of his career. He has a large number of films spanning 4 decades and crossing various genres. His major works are Picnic at Hanging Rock, Gallipoli, The Year of Living Dangerously, Witness, Death Poet Society, Fearless, The Truman, Master and Commander, The Far Side of a World, and The Way Back. He has 6 Academy Award nominations to his credit and was awarded the Academy Honorary Award in 2022 for his lifetime achievement. The movie Dead Poets Society came out in the year 1989 and was directed by Peter Weir and written by Tom Schulman. The movie is set in the year 1959 at an elite boarding school for boys called Welton Academy. The movie was a huge success both commercially and among the critics. The movie received several awards and recognition including Academy Award nominations for Best Pictures and Best Director and also Best Actor Award nominations for Robin Williams. The film also won BAFTA Award for the Best Film and the Caesar Award and David D. Donaldo Award for Best Foreign Film. The part prescribed for study is a 6-minute excerpt from the movie popularly known as the Rip It Out scene. Text summary. The Rip It Out scene of a movie Dead Poet Society features a classroom scene where the newly appointed English teacher, Mr. John Keating, asked the learners to rip off a page from their textbook that is full of academic jargon on the history and technicality of poetry. Keating asked a learner to read out the introduction of the poetry text titled Understanding Poetry, written by Dr. J. Evans Pritchard, PhD. The article turned out to be a complicated discourse on measuring the greatness of a poem. The learner reads out how meter, rhyme, and figures of speech matters in a poem, and the perfection of form is the measure of a poem's greatness. The article goes on about drawing graph to evaluate poetry with reference to the length and structure of a poem. As the reading goes on, Keating draws a graph on a board which the learners copy blindly into their notebook. As the learner completes reading, Keating asks them to tear off that page, much to their surprise. He says, "We are not lying pipes. We are talking about poetry." After the initial hesitation, they began to tear the page with great vigor. Keating says, "Be gone, J. Evans Pritchard, PhD." As the ripping goes on, another teacher enters the class hearing the commotion. He is shocked at what the learners are doing, but leaves without saying anything much. Keating then tells the learners that they are waging a war where the casualties might be their hearts and souls. This war is against those people who try to sterilize poetry by giving ways to measure the greatness of a poem. He goes on to say that in his poetry class, his learners will learn to think for themselves again and savor words and language. He insists that words and ideas can change the world. At this point, he realizes that some of the learners are doubtful of his assertion. He reads their mind thinking that 19th century literature has nothing to do with going to medical school or business school. Most of the learners sitting in the class consider poetry as just something that are forced to learn as part of a curriculum, and their plan is just learning the rhymes and go on quietly about the business of achieving other ambitions.
Keating understands the learner's thoughts and tells them that the secret about poetry is that we don't read and write poetry, but it's cute. We read and write poetry because you are members of a human race and the human race is filled with passion. He acknowledges that the other noble pursuits like medicine and engineering are essential for sustaining life, but poetry, beauty, romance, and love are the qualities for which we stay alive. He then quotes Walt Whitman, "Who me, whole life, of the question of their recurring, of the endless trains of the faithless, of cities filled with the foolish. The question, O me, O sad, recurring, what good amid these, O me, O life? Answer, that you are here, that life exists an identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a voice." Thus, Keating gratefully and effortlessly succeeds in giving his learners a new perspective on life, poetry, and identity.
Module 3, Reading Skills. Introduction. Reading is one of the primary skills in language acquisition and, along with listening, is considered to be an essential skill in the communication process. When you comprehend the meaning of a written text or note, you are reading. Familiarity with the language is essential for a person to read the language. Reading is therefore an active process that involves a certain level of involvement of the mind and requires some focus. Just like we read for various purposes, there are also different ways of reading. When you were a child, your teachers and parents must have instructed you to read loudly. This helps you in toning your pronunciation skills and also to understand the stress and intonation patterns in a word and sentence. As you grew older, you would have realized the importance of silent reading. This type of reading helps in better comprehension of a text or message. It also assists in speed reading. This is a skill learner has to master as it assists in better comprehension and active involvement in academic learning. Let us now learn different terms involved while you learn how to learn about the various types of reading. Skimming is a type of fast reading that helps you in general understanding or appreciation of a text. You may skip portions or a significant part of the text in this type of reading. This is especially useful when you are not sure about the significance of the book but you don't have time to read it completely. Scanning is reading through lines, paragraphs, and pages quickly to find a specific information. While scanning, you would not read the whole text but only that specific part that you need information on. Here again, you do not read the whole text but only specific parts that contain the information you are looking for. While scanning, searching for information using keywords help. So, you scan a text quickly until you find a word or phrase that you were searching for and then you read that part thoroughly. Unlike skimming and scanning, or thorough reading is reading the whole text without omitting any part. Here, you will be paying special focus on every word, phrase, and sentence. This process requires deep concentration and is the exact opposite of skimming. This type of reading enables the learners in full comprehension and appreciation of a text. Close reading also helps in critical analysis of a text and is best suited for academic reading. Another way of looking at ways of reading is to consider to what extent the text is analyzed for the purpose of learning. We can differentiate between extensive and intensive reading in this regard. Extensive reading means reading longer text, usually for your own amusement. This is a fluency activity and aims at developing the speed of reading and comprehension strategies. Intensive reading means reading shorter text in order to find specific information and to evaluate the language patterns like grammar and vocabulary. This type of reading focuses more on accurate understanding of the text and aims to make the learners more aware of the nuances of language use.
The Second Coming by W.B. Yeats. Introduction to W.B. Yeats. William Butler Yeats was a distinguished Irish poet, dramatist, and writer renowned as a leading figure of the Irish literary revival. Alongside Lady Gregory, he co founded the Abbey Theatre, a pivotal institution in the cultural renaissance of Ireland. In 1923, Yeats was honored with the Nobel Prize in Literature. Over time, particularly after 1900, Yeats' poetry evolved, becoming more grounded in physical reality and increasingly engaged with political themes. This marked a shift from the mystical and transcendental themes that characterized his earlier work, although he continued to explore certain recurring ideas, such as cyclical theories of life. Yeats played a central role in the Irish literary theatre, becoming its chief playwright in 1897, and was instrumental in nurturing the careers of younger poets, including Ezra Pound. Some of his most significant works include The Land of Heart's Desire, Kathleen Ni Houlihan, Deirdre, The Wild Swan at Cool, The Tower, Last Poems and Plays. About the poem. The Second Coming is one of W.B. Yeats' most renowned poems, written in 1919 in the aftermath of the First World War. The poem presents a profound and enigmatic alternative to the Christian concept of the Second Coming, the prophesied return of Jesus Christ as a Savior heralding the kingdom of heaven. In the opening stanza, Yeats portrays a world engulfed chaos, confusion, and suffering. The second longer stanza unfolds with the speaker receiving a vision of the future. However, this vision does not depict the triumphant return of Jesus Christ, but rather the emergence of a grotesque beast, symbolizing a dark and foreboding future. With its striking imagery and vivid portrayal of societal collapse, The Second Coming has become one of Yeats' most frequently quoted and enduring works. Poem The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the central cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight somewhere in sands of the desert. A shape with lion body and the head of the man. A glaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born.
The Frog Prince by James Finn Garner. About the author, James Finn Garner is an American author and satirist residing in Chicago. He is best known for his works including politically correct bedtime stories, politically correct holiday stories, Apocalypse Wow, Once Upon a More Enlightened Time, and Recut Madness. About the book and the story. Politically correct bedtime stories, modern tales for our life and times, is a 1994 work by American author James Finn Garner. In this book, Garner humorously critiques the movement toward political correctness and the censorship of children's literature, employing satire and parody. The book features classic fairy tales that have been reimagined to align with what a politically correct adult might deem a morally acceptable narrative for children. For instance, in Garner's version of The Frog Prince, the titular character is portrayed as a land developer who defrauds several landlords, resulting in his transformation into a frog as punishment. After reverting to human form, the developer attempts to involve the princess in his avaricious land development schemes, but she ultimately kills him, putting an end to his plans. The Frog Prince. Once there was a young princess who, when she grew tired of beating her head against the male power structure at her castle, would relax by walking into the woods and sitting beside a small pond. There, she would amuse herself by tossing her favorite golden ball up and down and pondering the role of the eco feminist warrior in her era. One day, while she was dreaming of the utopia that her queendom could become if women were in the positions of power, she dropped the ball, which rolled into the pond. The pond was so deep and murky, she couldn't see where it had gone. She didn't cry. Of course, she made a mental note to be more careful next time. Suddenly, she heard a voice say, "I can get your ball for you, princess." She looked round and saw the head of a frog popping above the surface of the pond. "No, no," she said. "I would never enslave a member of another species to work for my selfish desires." The frog said, "Well, what if we make a deal on a contingency basis? I will get your ball for you if you do me a favor in return." The princess gladly agreed to his most equitable agreement. The frog dived under the water and soon emerged with the golden ball in his mouth. He spat the ball on the bank and said, "Now that I have done you a favor, I would like to explore your views on physical attraction between the species." The princess couldn't imagine what the frog was talking about. The frog continued, "You see, I'm not really a frog at all. I'm really a man, but an evil sorcerer has cast a spell on me. While my frog form is no better or worse, only different than my human form. I would so much like to be among people again. And the only thing that can break this spell is a kiss from a princess." The princess thought for a moment about whether sexual harassment could take place between species. But her heart went out to the frog for his predicament. She bent down and kissed the frog on the forehead. Instantly, the frog grew and changed. And there, standing in the water where the frog had been, was a man in gold shirt and loud plaid trousers, middle-aged, vertically challenged, and losing a little bit of hair on top. The princess was taken aback. "I'm sorry if this sounds a little classist," she stammered, "but what I mean to say is, don't sorcerer usually cast their spell on princes?" "Ordinarily, yes," he said, "but this time the target was just an innocent businessman. You see, I'm real estate developer, and the sorcerer thought I was cheating him in property line dispute. So he invited me out for a round of golf, and just as I was about to tee off, he transformed me. But my time as a frog wasn't wasted, you know. I've got to know every square inch of these woods, and I think it would be ideal for an office or property share or resort complex. The location's great and the number of add perfectly. The bank wouldn't lend any money to a frog, but now that I'm in a human form again, they will be eating out of my hand. Oh, will that be sweet? And let me tell you, this is going to be a big project. Just drain the pond, cut down about 80% of the trees, get easements for. The frog developer was cut short when the princess shoved her golden ball back into his mouth. She then pushed him back underwater and held him there until he stopped thrashing. As she walked back to the castle, she marveled at the number of good deeds a person could do in just one morning. And while someone might have noticed the frog was gone, no one ever missed the real estate developer.
Optimism, an essay by Helen Keller. Helen Adams Keller was an American author, disability rights advocate, and a political activist born in West Tuscumbia, Alabama. She lost both her sight and hearing at 19 months old due to an illness. Before meeting her first teacher and lifelong companion, Annie Sullivan, at the age of 7, Keller primarily communicated with signs. Under Sullivan's guidance, she learned to read and write, mastering language despite her disabilities. She pursued education at both specialized and mainstream schools and later became the first deaf and blind individual in US to earn a Bachelor of Arts degree from Radcliffe College, Harvard University. A prolific writer, she authored 14 books and wrote hundreds of speeches and essays on a wide range of subjects. She was also a dedicated advocate championing disability rights, women's suffrage, labor rights, and world peace. In 1909, she joined the Socialist Party of America and was a founding member of American Civil Liberties Union (ACLU). Her autobiography, The Story of My Life, detailed her education and relationship with Sullivan, later inspiring the play and the film The Miracle Worker, adapted by William Gibson. About the essay Optimism is a timeless exploration of optimism as a guiding philosophy of life. Originally published in 1903, she wrote it after the use of a grooved board to guide her pencil as she wrote. She opens the essay by contemplating the universal pursuit of happiness which lies at the core of all human desires and efforts. The essay's central theme is a remarkable journey from the inner confines of a deaf blind individual to being a cultural luminary and thereby attaining intellectual heights. Then, the part 1, Optimism Within. Could we choose our environment and were desire in human undertakings synonymous with endowment, all men would. I suppose be optimist. Certainly, most of us regard happiness as the proper end of all earthly enterprise. The will to be happy animates alike the philosopher, the prince, and the swimney sheep, no matter how dull or how mean or how wise a man is. He feels that happiness in his indisputable right. It is very curious to observe what different ideals of happiness that people cherish and what singular places they look for this wellspring of their life. Many look for it in the hoarding of riches, some in the pride of power, and others in the achievements of art and literature. A few seek in the exploration of their own minds or in search of knowledge. Most people measure their happiness in terms of physical pleasure and material possession. Could they win some goal which they have set on the horizon, how happy they would be. Lacking this gift or than circumstance, they would be miserable. If happiness is to be so measured, I, who cannot hear or see, have every reason to sit in a corner with folded hands and weep. If I am happy in spite of deprivations, if my happiness is so deep that is a faith, so thoughtful that it becomes a philosophy of life, if, in short, I am an optimist, my testimony into the creed of optimism is worth hearing.
As sinners stand up in meeting and testify into the goodness of life, so one who is called afflicted may rise up in gladness of conviction and testify into the goodness of life. Once I knew the depth where no hope was, and darkness on the face of all things. Then love came and set my soul free. Once I knew only darkness and stillness. Now I know hope and joy. Once I fretted and bet myself against the wall that shut me in. Now I rejoice in the consciousness that I can think and act and attain heaven. My life was without past or future death, the pessimist would say, a consummation devoutly to be wished. But a little word from the fingers of another fell into my hand that clutched at emptiness, and my heart leaped into rapture of living. Night fled before the day of thought, and love and joy and hope came in a passion of obedience to knowledge. Can anyone who has escaped such captivity, who has felt the thrill and the glory of freedom, be a pessimist? My early experience was thus a leap from bad to good. If I tried, I could not check the momentum of my first leap out of the dark. To move the breast forward is a habit learned suddenly at the first moment of release and rush into the light. With the first word one, used intelligently, I learned to live, to think, to hope. Darkness cannot shut me in again. I have had a glimpse of the shore and can now live by the hope of reaching it. So, my optimism is no mild and unreasoning satisfaction. A poet once said, I must be happy because I did not see the bare, cold present but lived in a beautiful dream. I do live in a beautiful dream, but that dream is actual, the present, not cold but warm, not bare but furnished with a thousands of blessings. The very evil which the poet supposed would be a cruel disillusionment is necessary into the fullest knowledge of joy. Only by contact with the evil could I have learned to feel by contrast and the beauty of the truth and love and goodness. It is a mistake always to contemplate the good and ignore the evil because by making people neglectful in its less in disaster. There is a dangerous optimism of ignorance and indifference. It is not enough to say that the 20th century is the best age in the history of mankind and to take refuge from the evils of the world in sky dreams of good. How many good men, prosperous and the contented, looked around and saw naught but good, while millions of their fellow men are bartered and sold like the cattle. No doubt there were comfortable optimists who thought Wilberforce as a meddlesome fanatic when he was working with might and main to free the slaves. I distrust the rash optimism in this country that cries, Hooray, we are all right. This is the greatest nation on earth. When there are grievances that can for the loudly for redress, that is false optimism. Optimism that does not that count the cost is like a house built on sand. A man must understand the evil and be acquainted with the sorrow before he can write himself an optimist and expect others to believe that he was the reason for the faith that is in him. I know what evil is. Once or twice I have wrestled with it and for a time felt its chilling touch on my life. So I speak with knowledge when I say that evil is no consequence except as a sort of mental gymnastics. For the very reason that I have came in contact with, I am truly an optimist. I can say with conviction that the struggle which evil necessitates is one of the greatest blessings. It makes us strong, patient, helpful men and women. It lets us into the soul of things and teaches us, although the world is full of suffering, it is full also of overcoming of it. My optimism then does not rest on the absence of evil, but on a glad belief in the preponderance of good and a willing effort always to cooperate with the good that it may prevail. I try to increase the power God has given me to see the best in everything and everyone and make the best part of my life. The world is sown with the good, but unless I turn my glad thoughts into practical living and till my own field, I cannot reap a kernel of good. Thus, my optimism is grounded in the words, myself and what is about me. I demand that the world be good and law it obeys. I proclaim the world good and facts range themselves to prove my proclamation overwhelmingly true. To what is I open the doors of my being and jealously shut them against what is bad. Such is the force of this beautiful and wilful conviction. It carries itself in the face of all opposition. I am never discouraged by the absence of good. I never can be argued into hopelessness. Doubt and mistrust are the mere panic of timid imagination which the steadfast heart will conquer and the large mind will transcend. As my college days draw to a close, I find myself looking forward with beating heart and bright anticipations to what the future holds of activity for me. My share in the work of the world may be limited, but the fact that it work makes it precious. Nay, the desire and will to work is optimism itself. 2 generations ago, the Carlyle flung forth his gospel of work to the dreamers of revolution who built cloud castles of happiness, and when the inevitable wind rent the castles asunder, turned pessimist to those infactual endymions, alasters, and worthers. Thus, Scott peasant man of dreams in the hard, practical world cried aloud his creed of labor, be no longer a chaos, but a world produce, where it but the pitifulest infinitesimal fraction of a product produce in God's name. 'Tis the utmost thou hast in thee, out with it. Then up, up. What is over thy hand finded to do, do it with my thy whole might. Work while it is called the today, for the ninth cometh wherein no man may work. Some have said the Carlyle was taking refuge from a hard world by bidding men grind and toil eyes to the earth and so forget their misery. This is not Carlyle's thought. Fool, he cries, the ideal is in thyself. The impediment is also in thyself. Work out the ideal in the poor, miserable actual. Live, think, believe, and be free. It is plain what he says that work production brings life out of chaos, makes the individual a world and order an order of pessimism. I too can work, and because I love to labor with my head and my hands, I am an optimist in spite of all. I used to think I should be thwarted in my desire to do something useful, but I have found out that though the ways in which I can make myself useful are few, yet the work opens to me is endless. The gladdest labor in the vineyard may be a cripple. Even should the others outstrip him, yet the vineyard ripens in the sun each year and full clusters weigh into his hands. Darwin could work only half an hour a time, yet in many diligent half hours he laid anew the foundations of philosophy. I long to accomplish a great and noble task, but it is my chief duty and joy to accomplish the humble task as though they were great and noble. It is my service to think how I can be best fulfill the demands that each day makes upon me and rejoice that others can do what I cannot. Green, the historian, tells us the world is moved along not only by the mighty shows of its heroes, but also by the aggregate of tiny pushes of each honest work, and that thought alone suffices to guide me in this dark world and wide. I love the good that others do, for their activity is an assurance that whether I can help or not, the true and good will stand sure. I trust, and nothing that happens disturbs my trust. I recognize the beneficence of the power which we all worship as supreme order, fate, the great spirit, nature, and the God. I recognize this power in the sun that makes all things grow and that keeps life afoot. I make a friend of this indefinable force, and straightway I feel glad, brave, and ready for any Lord Heaven may decree for me. This is my religion of optimism.
Speech prepared by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar for the 1936 annual conference of Jatpat Todak Mandal of Lahore. About Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar was an influential Indian scholar, reformer, and politician renowned for his contributions to social justice and the framing of the Indian Constitution. His prolific writing, which includes works such as Annihilation of Caste and The Problem of the Rupee, showcases his exceptional analytical and rhetorical skills. Ambedkar's ability to address complex social issues with clarity and precision underscores the power of effective writing in advocating for change and shaping public discourse. His advocacy for the rights of Dalits and his efforts to eradicate caste discrimination have cemented his legacy as a tireless advocate for human rights and social reform. Studying Ambedkar's writings offers valuable lessons in constructing compelling arguments, employing rigorous analysis, and engaging diverse audiences. Ambedkar had multiple degrees from prestigious institutions including Columbia University and the London School of Economics. His intellectual contributions were instrumental in shaping modern India's socio political landscape. The portion prescribed for study is an excerpt from a speech Dr. Ambedkar had prepared for the 1936 annual conference of Jatpat Todak Mandal. The Jatpat Mandal was an anti-caste social organization initiated in 1922 in Lahore as part of the Arya Samaj. This speech was prepared by Dr. Ambedkar to deliver at the annual conference of the Mandal, where he was invited to preside over the conference. However, the speech was not delivered owing to the cancellation of the conference. The excerpt taken for study forms the fourth section of the speech where Dr. Ambedkar speaks about the evil of caste system and its influence upon the Indian society. Text. It is a pity that caste even today has its defenders. The defenses are many. It is defended on the ground that the caste system is but another name for division of labor, and if division of labor is a necessary feature of every civilized society, then it is argued that there is nothing wrong in the caste system. Now, the first thing to be urged against this view is that caste system is not mere division of labor, it is also a division of laborers. Civilized society undoubtedly needs division of labor, but in no civilized society is division of labor accompanied by this unnatural division of laborers into watertight compartments. The caste system is not merely a division of laborers, which is quite different from division of labor. It is hierarchy in which the divisions of laborers are graded one above the other. In no other country is the division of labor accompanied by this gradation of laborers. There is also a third point of criticism against this view of the caste system. This division of labor is not spontaneous. It is not based on natural aptitudes. Social and individual efficiency requires us to develop the capacity of an individual to the point of competency to choose and to make his own career. This principle is violated in the caste system insofar as it involves an attempt to appoint tasks to individuals in advance, selected not on the basis of trained original capacities, but on that of the social status of the parents. Looked at this from another point of view, the stratification of occupations, which is the result of the caste system, is positively pernicious. Industry is never static, it undergoes rapid and abrupt changes. With such changes, an individual must be free to change his occupation,
Without such freedom to adjust himself to changing circumstances, it would be impossible for him to gain his livelihood. Now, the caste system will not allow Hindus to take to occupations where they are wanted if they do not belong to them by heredity. If a Hindu is seen to starve rather than take to new occupations not assigned to his caste, the reason is to be found in the caste system. By not permitting readjustment of occupations, caste becomes a direct cause of much of the unemployment we see in the country. As a form of division of labor, the caste system suffers from another serious defect. The division of labor brought about by the caste system is not a division based on choice. Individual sentiment, individual preference has no place in it. It is based on the dogma of destination. Considerations of social efficiency would compel us to recognize that the greatest evil in the industrial system is not so much poverty and the suffering that it involves as the fact that so many persons have callings which may no appeal to those who are engaged in them. Such callings constantly provoke one to aversion, ill will, and the desire to evade. There are many occupations in India which, on account of the fact that they are regarded as degraded by the Hindus, provoke those who are engaged in them to aversion. There is a constant desire to evade and escape from such occupations, which arises solely because of the blighting effect which they produce upon those who follow them, owing to the slight and stigma cast upon them by the Hindu religion. What efficiency can there be in a system under which neither men's hearts nor their minds are in their work? As an economic organization, caste is therefore a harmful institution inasmuch as it involves the subordination of men's natural powers and inclinations to the exigencies of social rules.
The World Renowned Nose by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. About the author. Vaikom Muhammad Bashir was born on January 21, 1908. He was a prolific writer, an ardent humanist, and an Indian activist. He was a fervent believer in Mahatma Gandhi and was highly influenced by his ideologies of Satyagraha and Ahimsa. He was a prominent Indian writer known for his contributions to Malayalam literature and brought socio-cultural and artistic reformation. His works are often regarded as one of the most celebrated and original voices in modern Indian literature. His works are cherished for their simplicity, humor, and deep insight into human nature and society. He wrote short stories, novels, and essays, often drawing on his own life experiences. He blends satire, wit, black humor with ease. The Government of India awarded him the fourth highest civilian honor of Padma Shri. In 1982, he was honored with the Distinguished Fellowship by the Kerala Sahitya Academy. He received the Kerala State Film Award for Best Story for the Adul Gopalakrishnan film Madilugal in 1989. Some of his popular works are Premalekhana, Pathumayude Aadu, Balyakala Sakhi. About the story. The World-Renowned Nose is a short story by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, a prominent Indian writer known for his works in Malayalam literature. It was published in 1954 with the original title Vishwavikyatamaya Mooku, and the story given below is taken from the collection Poovan Banana and Other Stories, translated by V. Abdullah. Bashir's stories show his deep understanding of human nature. In The World-Renowned Nose, Bashir explores the themes of identity, pride, and human tendency to exaggerate one's importance. The story revolves around a character who believes that his nose is so remarkable that it deserves international recognition. This delusion leads to a series of humorous events as the character goes through great lengths to publicize his world renowned nose. The story is a satire that pokes fun at vanity and the human need for valediction. It highlights his ability to craft simple yet profound narratives that reflect the idiosyncrasies of human behavior. Through this tale, Bashir critiques the societal norms and the absurdity of self importance, all while meaning a light hearted tone. The world renowned nose story. It is sensational news. A nose has become a topic of controversy among intellectuals and political thinkers. A world renowned nose. I record here the true story of that nose. The owner of that world renowned nose had completed 24 years of age when the story began. No one knew him before that. Does the 24-year in a person's life have any special significance? Who knows? If one looks through the recorded pages of world history, one finds that the 24th year had a significance in many great lives. Students of history need hardly to be told this. The hero of our story was a cook, a kitchen worker, if you like. He was not particularly intelligent. He could not read and write. His world was confined to the kitchen. He was totally attention and indifferent to happenings outside the kitchen. Why should he pay attention to them? He could eat to his satisfaction, take as much of snuff as he wanted, sleep, work. His daily routine was confined to these activities. He didn't know that the names of the months of the year. When it was time for him to receive his salary, his mother would come and collect it. If he wanted snuff, the old woman herself would buy him for him. He lived a contented life till he reached his 24th year. Then an amazing thing happened. His nose grew slightly in length. It passed his mouth and reached the level of his chin. The nose began to grow in length every day. Was it possible to hide this? Within a month, the nose reached his navel. Did he feel uncomfortable? Not in the least. He could breathe freely. He could inhale snuff. He could distinguish between smells. There was no inconvenience worth talking about. However, because of his nose, the poor cook was dismissed from his work. What was the reason? No group came forward with the battle cry, "Take back the dismissed employee." Political parties shut their eyes to this piece of injustice. Why was this man dismissed? No lover of humanity came forward with this query. The poor cook. No one needed to tell him why he had lost his job. The reason was that people living in the house where he worked could find no peace or quiet because of him. People came visiting night and day to see the long-nosed one and his nose. Photographers pestered them. News reporters became a nuisance. A number of things were pilfered from the house. As the dismissed cook sat starving in his lowly hut, he was convinced of one thing. His nose had acquired great publicity. People from distant lands came to see him. They stood stunned with surprise at this long nose. Some touched it too, but no one asked, "Have you eaten today? Why do you look so weak?" There was money in the hut, not even to buy a small packet of snuff. Was he a wild animal to be kept starving? He might be a fool, but he was a human being. One day he called his old mother aside and told her in a whisper, "Get these horrid people out and shut the door." The mother promptly sent them all out and closed the door. Good fortune came to the mother and son from that day. People began to bribe the mother to see the son's nose. Some upholders of justice protested against this corruption. but the government did not take any action. Many protested against the inaction of the government and joined revolutionary parties out to sabotage the government. The income of the long nosed one grew day by day. Need one say more? In 6 years, the poor cook became a millionaire. He acted in film thrice. What vast audience were attracted by the Technicolor feature film? The Human Submarine. Sid's poet wrote epic poems about the noble qualities of the long-nosed one. 9 well-known writers wrote biographies of the long-nosed one and won wealth and acclaim. His princely abode was also a guest house open to all. Anyone, at any time, could get a meal there and a bit of snuff. He had 2 secretaries, 2 commonly accomplished women. Both of them loved the long nosed one. Both of them worshipped him. When 2 beautiful women love the same man at the same time, there is bound to be trouble. Troubles came into the life of the long nosed one. Other people also loved the long nosed one. That long nose reaching down to the navel was considered a sign of greatness. The long nosed one gave his opinion on important world events. Newspapers published his comments. An aeroplane with a speed of 10,000 miles an hour has been built. The long nosed one commented in this way on the event. Dr. Bunrose has brought a dead man to life. The long nosed one made the following speech about it. When people heard the highest peak in the world had been scaled, they asked, "What does the long nosed one say about this?" If the long nosed one said nothing about an event, pooh, it was unimportant. And also, the long nosed one was expected to comment on anything and everything. Art, the watch, trade, mesmerism, photography, the sword, publishing houses, the writing of novels, life after death, the conduct of newspapers, hunting. It was at this time that conspiracies were hatched to capture the long nosed one. To capture something taking something by physical conquest was nothing new. The major part of world history consists of conquest and captures. What does it mean to capture? Suppose you plant coconut seedlings on a piece of barren land. You water the land and manure it. You fence it in. Expectant years slip by and the trees bear fruit. Coconut hang in proud clusters from the palms. Then someone takes that garden away from you? First of all, it was the government that made an attempt to capture the long-nosed one. They tried a trick. The government awarded him the title Chief of the Long-Nosed One and gave him a medal. It was the president himself who tied the jeweled gold medal round the neck of the long-nosed one. Then, instead of shaking the long nose one by the hand, the president tweaked the tip of his long nose. This was filmed by newsreels cameraman and shown in all the theaters. By that time, the political parties in the country had come forward enthusiastically. Comrade Long Nose must give leadership to the people's struggle. Comrade Long Nose indeed. Whose comrade? Comrade in what? Great God! Poor long-nosed one. The long-nosed one must join the party. Which party? There were many parties. How could the long-nosed one join so many different parties at the same time? The long-nosed one said in his own tongue, "Why should I join a party or parties? Me, I am too tired." The one of the secretariat said, "If comrade likes me, he must join my party." The long-nosed one said nothing to that. "Need I join any party?" The long-nosed one asked the other secretary. She guessed what he was aiming at. She replied, "Why should you?" By that time, one of the political parties had come out with the slogan, Our party is the long nosed one's party. The long nosed one party is the people's party. Members of other parties were incensed by this. They got at one of the secretaries and made her issue a scathing statement against the long nosed one. The long nosed one has deceived the people. He has been cheating them all this while. He has made me a partner in this fraud. Let me declare the truth to the public. The long nose is made of rubber. What a statement! All the newspapers splashed the news on their front pages. The nose of the long nosed one is made of rubber? Would the people keep quiet at this? Would they not react in rage? Cables, telephone calls, and letters came from all parts of the world. The president was allowed no peace or quiet. Destruction to the rubber nose of the long-nosed one. Down with the long-nosed party. Long live revolution. When the anti-long-nosed party put out this statement, the opposing party made the other secretary issue a counter-statement. Beloved countrymen, citizens, what she has said is a lie. Comrade Longnose did not love her, and this is her revenge. She was trying to keep for herself the wealth and the good name of Comrade Longnose. One of her brothers is in opposite party. Let me reveal the true colors of the members of other party. I am faithful secretary of Comrade Longnose. I know for a fact that the nose of the comrade is not made of rubber. It is as real as my own heart beating inside me. Long live the members of the party supporting Comrade Longnose at this critical time. They have no motives of gain other than the progress of the people. Long live revolution. What was to be done? There was confusion in the minds of the people. The leaders of the party against the long-nosed one began finding fault with the president and the government. Stupid government, they gave the title Chief of the Long-Nosed Ones to a deceiver of the people. They gave him a jeweled gold medal. The president is also involved in this fraud. They have betrayed the national interest. The president must resign. The ministry must resign. The rubber-nosed one must be killed. The president reacted angrily. One morning, the army and their tanks surrounded the house of the poor long-nosed one. He was arrested and taken away. There was no news of the long-nosed one for some time. The people forgot about his existence. Then came fresh news with the impact of a nuclear bomb. Do you know what happened? Just when the people had forgotten everything, came a brief announcement from the president. The trial of the chief of the long-nosed ones will take place on 9th March. Expert doctors who come as representatives of 48 countries will examine him. All the newspapers of the world will be represented by their respective correspondents. The proceedings will be filmed for all the world to see. The people must keep calm. People are people. They could not keep calm. They came in large numbers into the metropolis. They invaded the hotel. They burnt public conveyances. They set fire to police station. They destroyed government buildings. There were communal riots. Quite a number of men and women died as a martyr in the fight for the long-nosed one. 9th March, 11 a.m. The square in front of the presidential palace was a vast sea of humanity. The loudspeakers blared forth, "People must be disciplined. The examination has begun." The doctors surrounded the long-nosed one in the presence of the president and the cabinet ministers. One doctor blocked the nostrils of the long-nosed one. He immediately opened his mouth wide. Another doctor took a needle and punctured the tip of his nose. To his amazement, a drop of blood appeared at the tip of the nose. The doctor gave their Unanimous verdict. The nose is not made of rubber, it is genuine. One of the female secretaries kissed the long nosed one on the tip of the nose. Long live, comrade, long nose. Long live the chief of the long nosed one. Long live the Progressive People Party of the long nosed one. As this shouting ended, the president thought of another gimmick. He nominated the long nosed one as a member of parliament. The Honorable Long Nose MP. 3 universities conferred doctorates on him. The ignorant populace acclaimed the actions of the equally ignorant government which ruled over them. But the parties of which the long nosed one was not a member formed a united front and began to proclaim, "The ministry must resign. This is a fraud on the people. It is a rubber nose." Look at the way falsehood was being perpetuated. Would there not be confusion of thought? What could be the poor intellectual do?
For the Love of Cinema, a review of Cinema Paradiso 1988 by Kushali Ruba Singh, Rotract Arts, July 23, 2022. The director, Giuseppe Tornatore, is an acclaimed Italian film director and screenwriter, credited with reviving Italian cinema on the global stage. He is best known for crafting deeply emotional drama films, including Everybody's Fine, The Legend of 1900, Malena, Baria, and The Best Offer. His most celebrated work is Cinema Paradiso, which earned him the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film. In addition to his film work, Tornatore has directed advertising campaigns for Dolce & Gabbana. Tornatore is also renowned for his long-term collaboration with composer Ennio Morricone, who scored 13 of Tornatore's feature films since 1988. The movie Cinema Paradiso is a 1988 coming-of-age dramedy, both written and directed by Giuseppe Tornatore. Set in a quaint Sicilian town, the film follows the poignant friendship between a young boy and an aging projectionist at the local cinema. This Italian-French co-production features a talented cast including Philippe Nuahe, Jacques Piha, Leopold Trieste, Marco Leonardi, Agnese Nano, and Salvatore Cascio. The film's evocative score was composed by Ennio Morricone and his son Andrea. Hailed as one of the greatest films ever made, Cinema Paradiso is a timeless classic in world cinema. It achieved both critical and commercial success, winning several prestigious awards, including the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film and the Grand Prix at the Cannes Film Festival. The review. Movies have been an integral part of my life since I was a kid. I don't think I have enough words to describe my love for cinema. My earliest memory of watching movies is when I was about 6 years old. During the school days, I'd get up early in the morning to watch movies broadcasted on local TV channels. My father, who loves movies just as much as I do, used to bring CDs, and my siblings and I would watch them all day. Looking back, some of my happiest moments have been watching movies with my siblings and family. I believe this is why Cinema Paradiso is one of my favorite movies ever. I'm not exaggerating when I say that the 1988 Italian movie Cinema Paradiso is one of the best movies I've ever seen. I'm clearly not alone in my opinion. The film regularly appears in
Best Movies of All Time lists and went on to win the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 1989. Written and directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, the film is a love letter to cinema. Cinema Paradiso explores the life of Salvatore Di Vita, nicknamed Toto, in his boyhood, teenage years, and adulthood. The film begins with adult Toto, now a famous filmmaker, receiving a call from his mother saying that his mentor and father figure, Alfredo, has passed away. Through flashbacks, the audience is shown Toto as a child and a teenager. Set in Giancaldo, a small town in Sicily, Toto forms a friendship with the town's titular cinema theater's projectionist, Alfredo. While watching a movie, young Toto is fascinated by the little hole in the wall from where Alfredo projects the film. Toto has already fallen in love with watching movies. At one point, his mother bans him from watching movies after he spends all the milk money on them, and he begs Alfredo to teach him. At first, Alfredo is reluctant, but Toto manages to change his mind. This is the start of a beautiful relationship. Toto, who lost his father in the Second World War, finds a father figure in Alfredo. From his young days to his teenage years, Alfredo becomes an unwavering pillar of support to Toto. He gives him life advice, teaches everything he knows, and encourages him to leave the town and pursue his dreams in Rome. Tornatore wrote the script based on his childhood town's cinema theater and his love for cinema. The screenplay is witty and gives life to so many interesting characters that are fascinating to watch. Some of them are the town priest, who comes with a bell to the theater and rings whenever there's a kissing scene, so that Alfredo will cut them before projecting them to the people. The man who lives in the main square and yells at people claiming it's his square, and the character who recites all the lines by memory, and the man who sleeps during films, and the people who try to wake him up. Just as it is a love letter to cinema, Tornatore wanted the film to be a tribute to cinema theaters. In Giancaldo, people comes in droves to watch movies with their babies and children in tow. It is a joyful sight to see. They yell, laugh, and bond as a community while watching a movie. Some meet at the theater and fall in love. One of my favorite scenes is when the town sees a kiss on screen for the first time and the crowd goes bonkers. It is important to remember the film is set in a time when people are grieving after the events of the Second World War. So, watching movies together is also healing to them. This goes on to show how films can heal and bring people together. A special mention should be given to Ennio Morricone's moving score. It is heart-rending and achingly beautiful. Even as I write this, I can hear it in my mind. I want this review to be spoil-free, so I will not go into details, but I believe Cinema Paradiso has one of cinema's most moving and memorable ending. I was sobbing by the end of it. I think the word masterpiece is often thrown around when describing films, but Cinema Paradiso in particular deserves to be called one. It explores man's strong connection to cinema, nostalgia, loss, love, and childhood magnificently. Watching this reminded me of myself when I was little, waking up early in the morning to watch movies. Cinema Paradiso is a must see for every movie lover.